So welcome along and welcome back. My name is Rob Taylor from the Dads in Business podcast video series, where on our aim to support busy working dads bring the best of themselves to home and to work. Often one of those things drops. We're trying to make sure we can bring the best of both worlds. To do that, part of the project is speaking to business leaders, coaches, personal development experts around all things to do with business and self. And I'm delighted that today we've got Ron Saharan from Boonton, New Jersey. Ron, good afternoon to you, sir. Please introduce yourself, tell us who you are and a bit more about where you come from. That'd be lovely.
Sure, no problem. And thank you, Rob. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show here. And the state of New Jersey is named after that little island outside of you guys called Jersey Island. So we've taken a lot for you guys over the years.
Yeah, I never knew that.
Yep. And so my name is Ron Saharan. I co-founded a company called Profit First Professionals along with my business partner, Mike Michalowicz, who is author of a book, Profit First. And, we're a membership organization of accountants, bookkeepers, and financial coaches that all subscribe to a specific cash flow methodology. And so right now, these days, Profit First Professionals have been certified in over 30 different countries. The book's been translated into 20-something different languages. And, we're considered the largest brand on small business profitability. And what that means is here in America, the Small Business Administration says anything under 25 million is a small business. I would like to have a small business of 25 million.
I long for a day where we have a small business that's got 249 staff over here. Ron. I want to stay small,
But you know Profit First, and it's not all about the top line. It's all about, what you take home to your family.
Exactly. And I think we'll talk so much more about the Profit First method, because you're right, I'm familiar with it, and it's part of what we share in a training approach that we have with owner managed businesses here in the UK. Finances and cash flow and profits, it is something that I think we're not expert in as business owners, right? We sort of get good at what we're doing and then we forget about the money side. And I think one of the best decisions I made was to get a financial friend, i.e. an accountant. But they do treat you as the general accountancy practice methodology, where it is your revenue minus your expenses equals your profit. And I guess, as we'll uncover in a bit, there's such a simple flip on that can transform your financial performance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But if we think about things, if we look at the studies, finances are probably the number one reason of divorce. Right? Finances are probably where, the kids hear their parents arguing about most of the time. Finances, are necessary to live the lifestyle that you want. And you're right, though, the accounting profession sometimes doesn't necessarily speak English, okay, to us. And so it's very difficult for the business owner who is great at their craft, whether they're a doctor, lawyer, or management consultant, at doing their job, but they don't understand the finances of it. They don't understand the pay yourself first methodology for business owners, right? They don't necessarily understand that having a profit is a good thing. Right. And so, we really want to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. That's our mission. If we can help small businesses, the business owners paying themselves first, if not more, have a war chest of cash for the tax man, even a profit's 3.5%, that business owner can pay down debt if they have it. They can celebrate the health of the company, or they can hire. When small businesses can hire, people have jobs. When people have jobs, it relieves a lot of the stress from the home life. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish, because, I take this stuff very personally, because unfortunately, I grew up in a household where my mom and dad were unemployed for a long time. And, it was very, very difficult, to the point where, I've eaten welfare cheese, and I vowed never to have that happen to me or my family. But, we've all got these stories.
No, absolutely. But it's good that we can take those stories and make them positive. That helps a lot of other people, right? My mom and dad were never wealthy. My dad passed away many years ago. But what they did with it, they brought me up and my brother in a very loving unit and a very loving family sort of scenario. And I know other people where their parents might be rich in our eyes, but they were unhappy and miserable. And I think there's a real push-pull sort of thing. It's like, well, I'm happy, but my parents didn't have cash. You're the rich family, but you're miserable. I mean, where do I want to sit, you know?
Right. We were kind of, growing up, my parents were always present. And so, yeah, my dad used to make good money and I thought we were rich, but then things happen and you learn really that you're not. But through all the thick and thin, through the ups and downs, my father was present. Okay. Now that doesn't mean he was a great guy all the time. He was, a great friend to my friends, but there wasn't a lot of, there was a lot of things that, I vowed that when I started a family that I wouldn't do. And, I think but what I've learned is being present in my life was the number one thing that he could have done.
Yeah. And by present, do you mean because what we see is people say, I'm present, i.e. that just means I'm in the room, but I'm not really engaged. So did you find that your dad was quite hands-on and quite, if he was there, he was there and his mind wasn't wandering away, for example?
He attended a lot of the sporting events that I was participating in, whether it's little league, whether it's football, American football, whether it's soccer, he was always present. He was also at a lot of the school functions, right? I can remember as a little kid, first, second, third, fourth, fifth grade, my dad was always there. He was always there for those things. And it was really nice to be able to look out the audience and see a family member.
Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it? And I think, to be honest, these little devices we all have in our pockets can be a real bane of our lives, because I don't know about yourselves. I've got younger children. My eldest is almost 8. My youngest is 3 and a bit. The amount of times I get back from a busy day at work and it's like I'm here, but I'm here. And I'm in almost 2 places at once.
Yeah.
It's a real challenge, isn't it?
It is. But we can design our lives to be present. We can shut them off. There's nothing that I'm doing in the business world that it is brain surgery or heart surgery.
Yeah.
Right. We got to condition ourselves. We got to condition ourselves. Turn that thing off. Turn it off.
No, exactly. And I think it's interesting where it stems from, isn't it? And I guess I don't know. Do you think it comes back to men, dads' relationship to money, the role that they have to play? It's like, my one goal in life is to make money, get busy and make money. And that therefore is a reflection of success. Did you see that playing out sort of when you were younger? Is that still
absolutely 100%? My dad was the breadwinner. Okay. He was in suit and ties. He had flashy cars, all sorts of stuff. And so when we did have a little bit of, a down in the 80s and things like that, I vowed that the only thing I was going to do was make money. Right. And so coming out of college, just make money, starting business, make money, save money, never want to do it. And, it wasn't until literally I was in my early 40s where I had the opportunity to start my own business. And it wasn't an opportunity to start my own business. It was an opportunity to make a lot of money. But what it really was an opportunity to redesign my lifestyle, to get back to the relationship that I had with my wife and daughter before I was working like a maniac. Yeah. And so, we design Profit First Professionals so that all of our staff can be present with their family. And so, but you have to walk the talk. So being present, I try to get my daughter to the school bus every morning. I used to make her lunch. I used to pick her up at 5 o'clock, after the things. And I would not do any work during that time. I would not take calls. I would not do anything. And it made such a memorable impression on me. I'm hoping it does the same thing for my daughter.
That's the thing. Yeah, I guess we want to impart on our kids the way that, in a way, we wish we were treated and the way we want them to grow up, right? And I think it's important, one that you say about, I try to take my daughter to the school bus every morning. One of the things we share with the business owners we work with is ultimately, I guess, a bit more diary management in a way, and prioritizing those things that they say is important to them. Because I was guilty for it to a point as well. It's like everything I do is to support my family. But that was very much from a financial lens. So therefore, I'm going to go out and chase getting busy. And busy is what's important. But,
Yep.
you know, to my 7-year-old, 5-year-old, 3-year-old, what is important is, can daddy take us to school a couple of times a week? Can he pick us up a couple of times a week? And, yeah, we ring fence. One of my business partners, he's very, very good at this. He'll ring fence specific things that he does. So he takes his kid for breakfast on a Saturday. He'll take him football training on a Friday. They'll go for a family swim or a family meal one evening a week. And I tell you what, I've heard the phone ring in his business and he's just gone, no. No is a very powerful word in business, but I guess without structure and without financial planning and without eyes on profit and what we're actually making, it's so easy to say yes, because we don't know what. That's our role. It's a bit of money. It's a bit of cash coming in. Therefore, I'll chase it.
Yeah. And generally, you know, if the cash management in the business is not running well, chances are it's not running well at home, and vice versa. So, you know, I look at, you know, at the whole of an individual, because I used to think that, you know, hey, I had my work persona and that was me. And then I was Ron, dad. No, we're one person. We are who we are. We live one life, and there needs to be the fusion between life and business. And that's one good thing that did come out of this pandemic. The fact that it opened up, you know, a lot of humanity to corporate America. Right. And so Amazon delivery people, babies, kids crying, dogs barking, all sorts of stuff. We really are humans, you know? And so I think that if we want to grow a company, we really need to understand that it's not about any longer, you know, working to make money. You know, it's more about working to live the lifestyle that you and your family want. In order to do that, you do need to have a very sound fiscal, financial, you know, starting point. You have to understand that, you know, while it sucks paying taxes, okay, if you're profitable, that's a good thing, right? And so there's a lot of reframing that needs to be done, but it also,
yeah. I really like that reframing, and I guess the relationship to money and the expectation, because I guess rewinding from our this is the first time we've spoke, so forgive me if I jump the gun. You were sort of chasing the money in the corporate world because that's what your motive was. It was chasing money.
Yep.
Whereas I guess what you're suggesting is we challenge the motive to chase money, but what is money enabling us to do, i.e. look after the family unit, yourself, and therefore we need to find balance around that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. 100%. Think about it. Think about understanding that if just all new entrepreneurs, there's so many of us that are just starting today. Okay. And a lot of businesses, you know, they have an accountant, they have forecasting, you know, we get our financials, but they don't have a pay yourself first methodology. And that's something that every single one of us who's listening to this has heard. Pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. How? Right? So imagine starting a business where you know how you're going to be paying yourself. You know you're going to have money for tax, and you're going to bake in some profit. That kind of relief that you have a plan is second to none. So once you have a plan and you're executing this cash flow plan, then you have focus. You have focus on growing your business versus just selling anything to sell anything so you can just get some money on it. So it really does it starts with fiscal management and understanding that money isn't evil, profit isn't evil. You need those things in order to be charitable, to be present, to hire.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what comes from that you just said there was there's got to be an element of responsibility. So personal responsibility. I think too often we see businesses that are almost reactive. It's like, well, I'm busy. I can't do anymore. I've done everything I possibly can. The pandemic happened. This hit. I'm skint next month. It's been busy this month, but next month, terrible. No one's buying. My customers have disappeared. We've heard so many different, I'll be polite, reasons why people struggle with this. And I'm not saying that external forces and factors don't put pressures on. My business has struggled in the early stages of the pandemic, but it's how you react and how you respond to it. And I think that element of personal responsibility is something that perhaps a lot of business owners could develop, if you think.
You know, we're responsible for the success or failure of anything that we do, right? And optimism is the only mindset of any value, if you're asking me. And so, you know, having a different type of look, but think about it, even when things go bad, we still have to be strong. We still have to, you know, be there. I remember, you know, before we were chit-chatting, before we went live here, we were talking about, you know, I was working in Manhattan, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, making great money, but I was coming home angry. I was coming home frustrated because the commute and just the BS that would grind me, but I was doing it all so that I could be the breadwinner and I could be, you know, doing it for my family. But what I was seeing and noticing is that I wasn't able to shut it off, right? I would come home, I was frustrated, I was angry, you know, I'd go hit the liquor cabinet for a little bit, right? Eventually, I wouldn't want to make dinner. I wouldn't want to play with my kid right away. You know, I needed Ron time to decompress. And that's selfish, right? That's selfish. But, you know, it's hard to break that cycle. It really is. And so that's why I love organizations like yours that support, you know, business owners, men going through this stuff, right? So whether it's you're lonely, you don't have anybody to talk to, whether it's you're angry and you're frustrated and you don't know how to get out of it, there are avenues to seek out this help.
This
right?
Is it,
we got to take your heads.
Because as men, I don't know if you know the phrase, we sweep things under the carpet. We just say everything's fine, you know, when part of the reason that this exists as a project is because, you know, I'd be busy at work. And if I had a bad day at work or something, you know, it's like the missus will go, how's work? Everything's fine. You go
Right.
you go back to the networking events or the working environment. How's business? It's great. How's everything at home? Spot on. When inside you're thinking, you know what? I wish the kids would sleep properly. I wish the house was tidier. I wish the work was a bit busier. And it's not until you start to put your hand up and say, do you know what? Anyone else feeling this? That people start to come forward, right?
Yeah, it's also a machismo thing, a macho thing. You know, hey, I'm the strong alpha man. I'm the president of my own company. I have X amount of people working for me. My revenue's this.
Because they're the measures of our success, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I want to be wealthy, but that's got a vision behind it. I want to support something. It's not for the sake of money. And I guess when you were saying about I was getting paid well, commuting into Manhattan, you were in an echo chamber. So everyone else was saying that's what you have to do. So everyone else was probably just as frustrated and as grumpy as you, but no one dare say it.
No.
So what was it that broke that? What shifted that for you, Ron?
Well, what shifted it for me, you know, I had an epiphany, and it was one of the weirdest things that I ever had. And so when Mike asked me and approached me about starting this company, Profit First Professionals, I looked at it as an opportunity to make more money. Okay. And so, you know, I was coming out of corporate, right? I was still wearing, you know, my slacks, my blazer down in the basement of his office. Right. And so it wasn't until I went to a large accounting conference and there was a speaker there. And she was talking about being more, being worldly, being universally. I didn't have good seats, but I felt like she was talking to me. And I love coaching. I love helping people make money. I love helping people be successful. Okay. I'm loving it. And I'm like, I can be more. I can be more. And that's where we came up with, you know, we're here to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. This is it. It isn't about making millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. It's about helping and doing what you enjoy while helping others. And so that speaker really made an impression on me.
Who was the speaker, Ron?
Would you like to venture a guess?
Was it Mike?
No, Mike was actually sitting right next to me along with Gabrielle Fontaine. The speaker was Oprah Winfrey. I had an Oprah moment. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. No wonder you didn't have good seats, Ron.
No, I know. But it was unbelievable. And, I was familiar with who Oprah is, what she's been through, what she does. But I've never been impacted, no big deal. But it was an epiphany. And that's when, we really started saying, okay, we're designing this business to live our lifestyle. Mike was a workaholic. I had to counsel him to pull it all back. He had to counsel me how to get out of corporate. And we really worked together to say, you know what, when your daughter, my daughter's 11 now, she's in 6th grade. Each year they're going to get a calendar of events on their first day. My admin puts all those things into my calendar every school year and gives me a buffer to get there and get back. And that's a no schedule time. So we've woven it into it. And we also have that same mantra with our staff. We have our staff put in their calendars when they have their kids' stuff.
Wow.
Right? Do it. We also understand that schools can be expensive for kids, right? Teachers don't have big, budgets. And every year kids are going back to school, having to buy a lot of supplies, right? And so what Mike and I have done is we set up a fund that our staff doesn't pay for school supplies for their kids. So that relieves some financial stress. I mean, we have one team member. She's got 3 kids. She spent $300 in school supplies just for the necessities. That's crazy. And so, being a fiscally responsible business, if you don't have profit, you're not paying yourself. Well, then how are you going to be philanthropic? How are you going to help the staff live the lifestyle that, maybe you wanted when you were staff? So, we always want to put family first, right? Even though the company's profit first, it's not all about profit. It's about paying yourself, having money for tax, have of course profit. But how about a vault, security, 3 to 6 months of core capital? How about purpose? What is the purpose? What is the mission? Right? Why are you doing this? And so, having it structured in a way from the get-go, and even if business has been around 100 years, they still have the opportunity to reframe what they're doing, reorganize slightly, flip the equation, and start doing things that they wish they maybe have done in the past or wish, they were doing now.
Yeah, I think it sounds fantastic. And I guess a few things that popped into my head there were there's discipline, in terms of I box off, as we mentioned earlier, time in my diary, but then we tell our staff to do the same. It's fantastic. I think so often we hear business owners as an individual doing that, but they won't often cascade that down as a corporate culture in that respect. And I think it's a great culture that's developing that's probably not seen in larger organizations where they're probably still stuck in that echo chamber of get the money, get the money, get the money.
Yeah, and they do fluff. A lot of these businesses do fluff. Bring your kid to school. Big deal, right? We can bring our kids to work every single day. My daughter will pop on here. She's been on our podcast. She's been in the office. She's been to our global. I've taken her out of school to attend our global conferences. So there's a lot we can integrate with family. And so, it would be disingenuous if I was doing all these incorporating things with my family, and then I'd say, no, you can't bring
for you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, leadership starts at the top, and being consistent in what you're allowing yourself to do. Your staff is allowed to do that same stuff. They should be.
Yeah, I guess too often we hear this or we see this disconnect, but it's funny you start talking about leadership because We're just recently releasing a book called Modern Sales Leadership that's about, I guess, the generational challenges that are seen. Because I guess if your traditional industries and traditional businesses have that baby boomer CEO where it was more stringent and strict, and this was what you were doing, it's almost hand-me-down habits, isn't it? Whereas now we're in what, Gen Z?
I have no idea.
Yeah, they're young.
Right.
But they're still working with the old traditional types who enforce this, and there's a real push-pull and a bit of conflict potentially. So it's really nice to know that, or share from your example, that you can build your own culture from the ground up and tell your team and encourage your team to embrace that. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I grew up in the smile and dial 90s, right? That's all we would do. Just crack the whip, smile, dial, make sales, move on to the next one, and that was the model. That model is still out there. There's a lot of antiquated thinking, not only in the accounting world, but in the business world in general. Just because it's been done the same way for the past X amount of time doesn't mean it's the right way. And so, I think what also helped is the recession, 2007, 2008. A lot of these kids that were there, they're in the workforce now. They saw how their parents were treated. They saw the layoffs. They saw the corporate greed, all that great stuff. So they don't want to work for their, father's accountant or any type of firm that was like what their parents were working for. So, this is a great talent pool. They're savers. They want to work hard. They know technology. There's so much good coming on up. But if we're still doing the same things that the previous generations have done, it's not going to work. Just like generational turnover from one, generation to the next fails more than startups because they're not adapting.
Yeah, it's interesting. And that sort of hand-me-down habits, I guess, sort of veering back to about numbers and cash flow and profits, the hand-me-down habits. Do you think that's why smaller businesses aren't building structure, because no one showed them how, or this is how we do it because this is what we've always done? What got you here won't get you there. It has to be the sort of mentality, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. When I was growing up, I assumed an accounting professional was what my grandfather had. Somebody who he could call and use as a sounding board, somebody that could do his taxes, somebody could do his bookkeeping, somebody that would provide him with sage advice on all different matters. Well, over the past 50 to 60 years, there's been the commoditization of the accounting industry where, there's a skills gap. People are looking for advisors, but they're looking for business advisors. And, the accounting industry, the bookkeeping industry, they've been so commoditized that they don't have the business acumen either to steer a lot of these businesses in the right direction. So, the business owners, I'm relying on my accountant for advice, right? But here's the dirty little secret. Accountants, bookkeepers, and coaches, a lot of them aren't running sound businesses either, right? And so, the entrepreneur is lost because you go to any accountant, okay, what is the cash flow methodology that you suggest I implement or that you implement to your customers or yourself? What is the pay yourself first methodology you use? They're going to say, well, you know what? You sell, right? You manage your expenses. Make sure your expenses don't go more than what you're selling. And then whatever's left over, that's what you pay yourself with. What? Leftovers? Crumbs? What comes last is an afterthought. What comes first is important, right? And so I would never, say to my, daughter, hey, listen, just go out and be average. Just do whatever, you want them to be the best they can be. And so there's a lot of different mechanisms to do that, but it's actually identifying the need for change and being coachable. I've learned that if a business owner is coachable, there's a lot that they can learn, but they have to be open to different changes. So that's why we say sales minus expenses equal profit. Structurally, that's correct. Behaviorally, that's wrong. If you get picked last for football, you're no good. Okay. So what we're saying is that profit's no good. It's an afterthought. So we flip the equation. Sales minus profit equal expenses. Sell, sell, sell. Take your profit first. Pay yourself first. Put money away. Then manage the business on everything else that's left over.
It's such a eye-opening, as I said sort of early on, nuance on the formula, isn't it? But it's not until you get that, like you say, willingness to be coached. So I guess there's a couple of things. What do you think is preventing people wanting to be coached? And I guess after that, if you don't mind, I guess defining pay yourself first, because my first experience of that sentence was from one of the first development books that I read when I got into self-employment, which was Jack Canfield's 25 Success Principles, I think it was. It's a great book. And he kept talking about pay yourself first, pay yourself first. We've said that to companies before, and they look at you like you're mad. Like, I can't do that. So yeah, I guess a couple of things there, Ron. What is it that prevents people being open to being coached, that there is a different way?
Ego.
And just define the pay yourself first a little bit.
Sure. The number one thing I see is ego. Ego. You know, admitting that what you're doing isn't working out. It's the true definition of insanity, right? Right? Doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. So we have to realize that the world is full of axioms, right? Those are things that we believe generationally that are true, only to be proven that they're not. The biggest axiom out there is the world is flat, right? People were persecuted and killed because they believe that. We're saying that sales minus expenses equal profit is the world is flat, right? The round world is sales minus profit equal expenses, okay? And so once we have an understanding, once they're realizing that what they've been taught is not necessarily the right thing, okay, then they're open to trying something else. The next thing is the willingness to learn. Yes, hey Jane, I'm on the phone. Sorry.
That's all right. That's real life, Ron.
Yeah, my daughter just got home from school. She's walking on in now, and you know, it's just me. So hi Jane, I'm on an interview. I can't see him because of the wall thing.
That's all right.
But yeah, stuff like that. That's great. You know, 10 years ago, if I was hosting a podcast, I would be pissed that somebody else's kid walked on in and interrupted. Right? As a guest, don't matter. If it happens when I am hosting, doesn't matter to me either. It's life. Right?
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep. So being coachable, okay. One, understanding that, you know, axioms exist out there, but how do you do it? How do you actually do it? Right? How do you pay yourself first? Well, what we suggest you do is open up a bank account, one single bank account, then allocate a predetermined percentage of that income into that bank account. Okay. Open up another bank account, call it profit. Take a small percentage and put it in that account. Right. So what we're doing is we're basically setting up buckets and we're starting small. Even if you never paid yourself much or you haven't paid yourself more, you haven't been profitable, open up a profit account, right? Put 1% in there, 1%, and watch it work. It's really easy. So income comes on in, whatever your percentage is, you remove that right off the top and you pay yourself into that bank account. The only thing you can do with that money in that bank account is pay yourself, right? How do we have money for tax? Same thing. We take a predetermined percentage of that money, allocate it in a tax account. The only thing you can do with that money is pay the tax. That's simple, right? You have a tithing account. So many people have a tithing account, charity, 10%. Okay, well, how are you going to do that? Take it right off the top, put it in there, and the only thing you can do. And so it's a behavioral modification is actually what's happening when we're trying to do it the other way. So basically what I'm suggesting is grandmother's envelope budgeting methodology. Have you ever heard of that, about that, Rob?
No, please fill us in.
Okay. So this is how my grandmother taught my mother, who taught me and my brother how to manage our money. She had 4 specific envelopes that we grew up with. The first envelope, food envelope. Second envelope, rent envelope. Third envelope, clothing. Fourth envelope, church. Whenever my grandmother would get some money, say €1, she'd break it down into those little envelopes. So let's just say we'll use US dollars, a quarter, a quarter, a quarter, a quarter into each one of those envelopes. Then when grandma went to the food store, she didn't bring all of her envelopes. She just went with one envelope. Okay. And by going with one envelope, she was not tempted to buy the extravagant. What she's doing is making the resources for that intended purpose work. Right. So maybe we're getting ground beef instead of filet. Okay. But if she had all that money, maybe she would say, you know what? Ron worked really hard. Let's get a better cut of meat. There's a tendency to spend what we have available to us. The flip side is when resources are less, we're going to be more creative, more innovative, and do more to get. So that's a behavioral system. Those 4 envelopes can be translated into business. So what is the 4 main things in your business? Paying yourself, profit, tax, okay, right? And you're running everything else. So by putting these percentages, these dollars, these euros into envelopes and starting small, even if it's just 1%, over time, you're going to be able to swing those percentages and grow those percentages.
And I think banks over here, I'm sure over there as well, are making this. They're making it much more easy now. I have a bank called Starling Bank.
I know Starling. I know Metro. I know all those guys.
So I'll tell anyone that listens that struggles with this. They'll say, "Oh, my bank's terrible for letting me open up another account. They're rubbish." Just go on Starling, because you can set up within one account spaces. And I've got them in my account. I've got profit, I've got tax, I've got bonus. Oh, that is my bonus. So my bonus is my profit space. Yeah. I have tax, and that's about it. And then I've got a main account.
Right. Perfect. We're a global S corporation, and we have 25 different bank accounts at 3 different banks. Right. And the clarity that I have on real-time cash position is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And so, it's not more money. They're not going to spend more time reconciling, because these are holding accounts, right? They're holding accounts. You're not writing income and checks and all sorts of stuff. That's only one account. That's the one you're going to do it. But, and it's not going to cost you a ton of money, right? There's banks now, they're waiving a lot of fees. They're waiving overdrafts over here. Right? They want your money because of the regulations that caused the recession, based upon their tendency to, lend. So
they need to be liquid, don't they? So they need cash.
They got to have it. Right. So going into and even if you notice, where there's one bank on a street, there's probably 5 others, right? All in a row. So you walk into one, they don't have favorable terms. All right, I'll take my business elsewhere. Boom. Another one, take my business elsewhere. And they're out there. They really are out there.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, it's so easy to shop for banking now. The Starling app, wholly online. You do it, voice recognition, face recognition, whatever it is. And I left a large international bank to come to it because they were clunky and they were dinosaurs, and it was taking 3 weeks to open a bank account. I was like, it was soon after I'd read Profit First for the first time. I need to set this up. I need to get it moving and get it implemented. But the operational blockers from banks wouldn't let me do it. So I was like, all right, I'll find somewhere that can. Because
which is crazy, because you only can have 250,000 insured in a bank here in America.
Yeah, it's like 85,000 here, I think it is.
Yeah. So you got to have multiple bank accounts if you're a growing business and you're a profitable business and you just have a lot of money, right? And so it's weird. I don't get it, but you know what? We use a credit union. They know us as the bank account guys. Mike's got tons of other businesses, all been running Profit First. We run it in our households, all sorts of great things by simply opening an account. It's like our IRA over here, government retirement funds, where they take it off the top and they put it away, and you can't get it till
Yeah.
you're 65 or 72, or you're penalized, right?
That's right.
And
Yeah.
so when that first came out in the 90s, my wife and I, that you could put 15% of your salary in there. So we didn't put 15 from the get-go. We did 3%. Then the next year we did 7. Then the next year we did 15. And I remember saying to my wife, can you believe we're living the same lifestyle with 30% of our combined salaries going away? Same thing with Profit First. We're removing it from the top. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So you barely see it. And this is the
Yeah.
beauty with the spaces I was talking about. It's still in the one account, but it hides it from what your balance is. So you don't see it, but it just grows and grows and grows and grows. And then you pay yourself a bonus. And I was saying before we hit record that we share the Profit First methodology with a group of smaller owner managed businesses. And I'm not saying it because you're here, it changes people's lives. It changes people's lives. And these are small businesses, and they can pay themselves properly. They can buy treats. They can spend money on their family. They can go on holidays. And it doesn't happen until they take that disciplined first step. So, Ron, for those that aren't familiar, we keep saying Profit First. We keep mentioning this guy called Mike.
Right.
Could you give us a rundown of what is Profit First and who the heck is Mike?
Sure. So, so Profit First is a book written by Mike Michalowicz. Mike is a serial entrepreneur and an author of many books. He and I co-founded Profit First Professionals to support the teachings in the book, to certify accounting firms, bookkeeping firms, and coaching firms in this methodology so that they can get it right for the business owners. Okay. What else?
Where did it come from in terms of Mike's background? Serial entrepreneur, but how? Where did it? What? It sounds like a great idea, but was it lived experience from Mike? What kicked it off? Where was that?
Yeah. So my experience in Profit First before the book was even written was grandmother's envelope budgeting methodology, right? And so Mike, you know, the only way he was profitable is when he would sell a business. He wasn't paying himself. The top line was the only thing that mattered. And he sold a couple of companies, but he was never really profitable and didn't really get money until he actually did that. Well, then things didn't go well. And so, you know, he fell on some hard times, fell into some depression, and had to figure out, you know, a different way to make his business succeeded, because not everybody is going to grow a company and be the next Facebook or LinkedIn or anything like that, you know, but he had to come up with a way, and he came up with this way basically through hard knocks from learning and just figuring it out on his own. And so he wrote a book about it. And so the book sold over 1 million copies. We have over 600,000 implementations of Profit First going on globally, from startups who are using it as their financial foundation to $100 million companies that are using it in different ways, and everything in between. And so, you know, again, it's a different way of doing something. It's not accounting, guys. It's not bookkeeping. Okay. It's a cash flow system.
Yeah. And I think it must be, in the early days, certainly, it must have been so difficult to put over, because a lot of people are looking for that silver bullet, get rich quick. And it's not that, is it? It's discipline, and it's responsibility, and knowing that in 6 months, 9 months, a year, 5 and 10 years, it'll transform. And I think so many people are drawn to this get rich quick and silver bullet mentality that must have been a challenge in the early days to get this off the ground.
What was the most challenging was we decided to work with accounting firms and bookkeeping firms instead of going out and doing this ourselves to businesses. Mike and I decided that, you know what, if we can get this into the hands of accounting firms, they can implement it in all of their customers' businesses. So the adoption of anything new in accounting does not happen overnight. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And so when you got these two guys that are not accountants, are not bookkeepers, basically saying, hey guys, this is, you know, what you should be doing, there was a lot of resentment. There's, you know, there still is today. We're disrupting the accounting world, right? And so it's still an uphill battle. We got a lot of work to do, but because over 600 global certified members, they're pushing it to the point where, it's becoming more the norm. And you're starting to see applications that are profit first-esque, like the envelopes in the banks, Sterling, QuickBooks, Xero, they're all coming out with a very similar methodology. But what they don't understand is how to make it work.
Yeah, a real life application for the small business, where it is them feeding their family to a point.
Yep.
And that's where it's real.
Well, it's also, one of the things is that a lot of our small businesses like mine and like yours, we're looking for an accounting or a bookkeeping firm that's going to want to be, kind of intimate with us. Right? Somebody that we can talk to, somebody that we can strategize with, somebody that, isn't just going to meet us once a year and give us a bill and tell us how much we have to pay.
Yeah. It's that time of year again.
Yep. Hey, listen, I was in that cycle too. I talked to my accountant, Harvey, anything you can do? Nope, nothing I can do. There's nothing you can do when you have no money.
Yeah. And I'm lucky I've got an accountant. He lives around the corner. He's a family man as well, and we get on great. So it's there's real benefits to that. But again, I think it's something else that people don't appreciate is a skill that they can outsource, and they can get a team around them that are experts in this. And small businesses often assume, I don't know what your experience is, I'm the trade, I'm the marketer, I'm the operation, I'm the accountant, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm that, and I have to do it all because that's what I am.
And a dad.
Yeah, and the dad and the family and the husband and the brother.
Yeah.
It's no wonder we get overwhelmed. It's no wonder anxiety is going through the roof, because we don't get the help, because we can't see the wood for the trees, because we're so in the frame. Yeah.
It's hard too, to ask, that's why I appreciate, you being a guest on your platform, just to share that there's different ways out there. Definitely.
Well, that's it, isn't it? And there's so many opportunities these days. We're chatting across continents because of the wonders of technology. Lessons can be learned from everywhere. And I think if we can embed that in what we're doing, we can make our own little universes so much better, because we give and take from others.
Absolutely. I mean, I've worked with thousands of businesses all over the globe. So whether it's in Beverly Hills, California, whether it's in Oxford, England, whether it's in Angola, Africa, or Sydney, Australia, the entrepreneurial struggle remains the same. And it's not your fault. Entrepreneurs are smart. They build things, they get people to buy things, they market, they hire. They're great. Then why do so many of them fail? It's the system. They're taught the same thing. They're being taught that the world is flat. And that's not right.
So, Ron, aware of time, we need to start wrapping up. I often like to try and give a few quick wins, not silver bullets, but quick wins, things that business owners or stressed out, overwhelmed folk can start to implement and apply. Well, what would you suggest that people start to do from this, who might be new to Profit First, who might be new to a different way of understanding financial systems? What can they do that's a small step? What can you advise?
I'll tell you what, I'll gift your audience 10 copies of Profit First. The first thing they can do is reach out to you and say, I want one of those copies of Profit First. Send me their email address, their address, and I'll mail it to them. That's the first thing they can do. The other thing, something to live by, is do what you say you're going to do by when you say you're going to do it, and do it better than expectations. You do that in business, as an owner, as a father, as an employee, you will be a rock star in what you do.
That's it. And I think you can see some of it behind me here. We think there's 4 aspects that make up dad life. It's the work life, it's the family life, it's the money life, and it's the self, which often gets forgotten.
Yeah.
Because we get so busy, usually at the work side of things. And I think if we can set goals, agreements, expectations, and commit to it, it's eye-opening. It really is. And hopefully the people watching this can share, they can take away from it. I can advocate Profit First as a game-changing approach. It works wonders. Simple, but not easy. Just requires commitment. But Ron, listen, where can people connect to you? How can they find out more about Profit First Professionals? Fill us in. Where can we connect?
Yeah, sure. So, if anybody's interested in working with a Profit First professional, or even possibly becoming a Profit First professional, all they got to do is go to profitfirstprofessionals.com, right there. I'm also on Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn. Feel free to hit me up. Let's connect. And if I can help you out or point you in the right direction, I'd be more than happy to.
Brilliant. Listen, Ron, it's been a fantastic chat. I'll be getting this over on YouTube, on the website. It'll be a podcast down the line. So really appreciate you taking the time out and sharing your experiences, your experience as a dad, as a busy dad as well, moving into working for yourself and teaming up with Mike to end entrepreneurial poverty. I think it's a real good cause, one that I can certainly connect with, one that I see play out, and I think it's super important. So please do keep on keeping on. There's a long way to go, I'm sure. But Ron, thank you very much, buddy, and you take care.
Been my pleasure. Thanks, guys. Thanks,
Take
Rob.
care, dude.